let's not ignore the fact that Texas is favored in this game, okay? That's number one. Everyone is acting like, hey, it's Washington, Washington. It may be Washington. I understand why. I like that pick as well. Texas is the favorite. So, two things here. This is, without question, I believe, the best defensive line in the country. Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, those guys in the middle are NFL linemen. Tavondre Sweat just won the Outland Trophy, best defensive lineman in college football. This Washington offensive line has not faced an interior like this. And so Texas oftentimes can get pressure with their front four. If that happens, all of a sudden, they got a ton of guys in the secondary that can slow down Michael Penix Jr. because I don't think the offensive line will be able to protect Michael Penix Jr. like they have throughout the Pac-12 schedule because Texas will be the best defense they have faced all season. Texas is the number one defense in the country on third downs. They are great at getting third down stops. Yes, they can give up the big play. Conversely, Washington does not have a very good defense, and Steve Sarkisian, as a play caller, is no question. This is across the board. If you know college football, you will agree with this. He is easily a top 5 play caller in college football. So, can Washington stop Sark's offense when he has a month to get ready? That's a big question mark. It's a huge question mark, and that's how Texas can win this game. Third down stops and enough offense to outscore the Huskies. One of the things that was written about Sark was from an anonymous Big 12 head coach was he doesn't have tendencies. He breaks tendencies. You think he does. The next week, he breaks them. And that's the one thing. If you're a defensive coordinator and you're trying to stop an opposing offense, a lot of times what you do is you base your defensive schemes on tendencies. Oh, we've seen this look before. This is a tell. This is how we know what they're going to run or how to defend this play. Sark doesn't really do that. That's what makes it tough. You think he's going to do something. He knows you think he's going to do it, and he does the opposite. And it's hard. When you get into a habit as an offensive play caller or things that work, you go to things that work. Sark isn't really like that. So if we're making the case for Texas in particular and the advantage that offensive play callers have, that's the advantage. You take a mind like that and you give them a month to get ready, I mean, that's when they, in theory, should be at their best.
I think that's why it's really tough for me to handicap this Alabama and Michigan game. Because you look at both sides of the coaching angle and you say, okay, Nick Saban with extra time to prepare, boy, is that going to be tough to defend. But, you know, Jim Harbaugh is a pretty damn good coach in his own right, and they're the team that's favored in this one. When you have a matchup that has two great coaches, do you think it almost cancels itself out? Because obviously at the end of the day, the players still have to execute said game plan.
Yeah, it's a very good question, and coaching certainly matters. I get that, but there's no question about it. When you have a coach like Saban who has been there, done that again and again and again, then you're going to give them due credit, and I think rightfully so. And honestly, I think that's one of the reasons why everyone is on Bama. I happen to like Michigan over Alabama, and I feel like I'm in the minority there. But when people look at Jim Harbaugh, what do they see? They see a guy who's never won it, and they see a cheater. And when you look at Nick Saban, what do you see? You see the GOAT. You see a guy who's been there, done that, who just beat Georgia. And so that absolutely plays into how people bet these games. And sometimes those narratives are spot on. Sometimes there's a bit of tomfoolery going on there. And you get hoodwinked because you think things are going to go a certain way based on, you know, history that you've seen in the past, and it's not that way. Maybe your comeback player of the year. He's done it again. 309 yards, 3 touchdowns, including a couple to Jerome Ford in the first half of this game as Cleveland builds a 20-point lead. 98% of the public was on the Joe Flacco passing prop of 233.5. That comes home in a big way. He had 296 in the first half alone. So the Browns clinched their second playoff berth since 2002 by guaranteeing themselves at least a wild card spot. They're still alive for the AFC North. Flacco improves to 4-1 as a starter, and he beats the Jets, the very team that cut him after 3 years in New York. Every time you doubt Joe Flacco, Chelsea, he just proves he's elite.
Oh, for sure. But the Browns looked like the much better team overall than the Jets. They didn't even need Amari Cooper in this one. Amari Cooper, their star receiver, a late scratch from this game. We knew he was questionable, But still, I think a lot of people thought maybe, okay, this is Joe Flacco's best target. What's he going to do? Well, all he's going to do is dial up David Njoku and set the tone early for this game, because that's really what the basis of this game was. The Browns ran out to an early 20-7 lead and never really looked back. The defense looked good too. I know everybody's going to be talking about Joe Flacco and how elite this passing offense seems to be, but you should, say a little something about this Browns that continues to get pressure on opposing quarterbacks. In the first half, Trevor Siemian could not get anything going. It just felt like he was constantly under pressure. So when you combine this great defense with a team that now has a valuable starting quarterback that, oh, by the way, is PG enough to go on the Nickelodeon shows. Did you see that meme? People were laughing because Joe Flacco got slimed on Nickelodeon earlier this week
not see that.
for some kind of accolade. And they said, it feels nice to have a quarterback that can go on kids' channels. A slight to Deshaun Watson.
Nuggets played last night, and even though they blew out the Grizz, I think playing on back-to-back nights against a very good Thunder team is probably just not going to work out well as far as the spread is concerned here. Yeah, I like the Nuggets generally, but not here, because if you look at Oklahoma City, they've been one of the best covering teams in the NBA. In fact, on the road against the number, they're 8-3-1. That is the best in the league. And when playing on back-to-back nights, again, that's the spot the Nuggets are in tonight, they're 3-4 against the number. So I also think when we talk about things you can or cannot quantify, this is really a battle, what we could see potentially, if you're looking long-term, in the Western Conference playoff race to the best team. So I expect it to be highly competitive. I'll take the Thunder in the 3.5.
The market's been way too low on Oklahoma City. You have referenced their against the spread record, but also the fact that they have a winning record as an underdog. Not only are they covering, they're winning a lot of these games outright. So I think that is a signal that you take Oklahoma City, a team that is going to be a problem in the Western Conference for quite some time with all of that young talent. Elsewhere in the league, we've got the Grizzlies and the Clippers squaring off. Clippers home favorites -7.5. Total 225.5. I'm wondering if Ja Morant's going to play in this game, because yesterday he was a late scratch with an illness. And I think everybody really wanted to see this Memphis team with their fearless, electric leader. But I'm not sure if we know this yet. This is the problem when you do these shows so early in the morning. We probably won't know. Do we think he plays? Or do you think this is a game where Ja Morant is such a big piece that you don't really want to give a play until you know?
I honestly, and I wrote this yesterday, and I'm glad I did, I put down on my notes, I am passing on this game. I am not going to bet on this game. But it's for the reasons that you mentioned, and a couple things here. When you look at the Grizzlies, and clearly they've been good with the exception of last night, which that was coming, right? They were going to have some sort of regression. But now everything you knew about the Grizzlies and their ability to cover the number and how they play as a team, you have to throw that out the window, because it's not just you get maybe some player back and it doesn't really move the needle. When you get Ja Morant back in the lineup, my God, that changes everything. So you don't have a huge sample size from which to choose. And then conversely, I still don't know what to think about the Clippers. Remember, they started off, 0-5 once they got James Harden. Then they went on that incredible winning streak, and they got blown out a couple nights ago. So you've got two teams where I just need to see a little more consistency from both and have a bigger sample size again when it comes to the Grizzlies. So for me, I would really stay away from this game.